giant, hairy creature.
In search of a giant, hairy dick.
Indians
Tim
call
Allen?
him Sasquatch. They believe he is as gentle as he is powerful and mysterious.
Is this a laser light show? What's
He's
going
been
on?
seen many
I think this
times
is a laser
in the rugged
disc
mountains
show.
and deep woods of the Pacific Northwest. The encounters have not always been peaceful.
Hey, you know what
In
Portland is?
1924, a small group of men were working a mine in a canyon near Mount St. Helens in Washington.
This is familiar.
One night, the miners took their
I think
weapons
they were
inside and
Italians.
bolted the door.
These guys
They
are like
thought they were
roadies
secure
for
the
Boston.
evening. Outside, something
Rough and
strange
rumble
was
and ready to
happening.
rowdy.
The cabin was under attack. Boulders rained on the roof.
Film through chocolate.
Or something
Excuse me, do you have any more
was trying
darkness?
to break in.
1920s, 70s man.
Let's just point our guns in a general direction.
The miners later described their attackers as large, hairy apes. The siege lasted several hours.
It's just somebody gargling really loudly.
Hey, you guys got any Crisco? What are they shooting?
Good work. You've shot that door half to death.
Man, Brokeback Mountain 2 looks fucking dope.
Man, Crosby, Stills, and Nash tours were insane.
The miners escaped injury that night. The area now known as Ape Canyon is one of the many places in the Northwest where man continues his hunt for this elusive creature we call Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, this is when History Channel got rid of the original intro music because it was too embarrassing.
And the
To the
legend
Indians
continues.
living along the Columbia River in Oregon and Washington, or those in Canada, there is no need for proof of Bigfoot.
It's boo-boo.
Sasquatch has been a part of Indian lore as long as they've inhabited this land. Some anthropologists believe that the creature could have come to the
He's got a
northwest
raccoon for a
part of the
nose.
United States along with the Indians, across a land bridge.
Are they trying to
that once
sneak into a
connected
movie?
Siberia to Alaska. The newcomers
Wait, the
to
H
this
stands for
country
history?
have seen Bigfoot in an area ranging from Northern California to southwest British Columbia. To the Indian, Bigfoot carries a mystical significance. Sometimes it's difficult to tell where myth ends
Or where
and
meth
reality
begins.
No, myth.
In our modern
Check it out,
world of
Disco
concrete and
Spock.
steel, we're far removed from
Is he
the
wearing
Indian
eyeliner?
lore of Bigfoot. It's hard to imagine any corner of our crowded world where a giant.
He looks like he's gonna jump
creature
off
could
a
roam
building.
free. Persuasive
Is this
evidence
Spock's
that
suicide
Bigfoot
tape?
is real,
Shatner, you
and
made
that
me
urban
do
man
this.
May be close to his first meeting with this living legend. It is
Republicans,
felt by some
libertarians,
scientists that Bigfoot falls somewhere in this progressive
Anarcho-capitalists,
a giant hominid related
Democrat,
to but not like modern man.
progressives,
According to this theory, Bigfoot
Bernie
would have
Kratz.
pursued a course of evolution separate but parallel to his human
some dude that went to
cousins.
Burning Man.
Dr. Grover Kratz
Commies.
is an anthropologist at Washington State University.
Tea Party.
Its locomotion.
Yo, I had gym class with that guy. Was that the dude from Iron and Wine?
Relative.
That's the Dos Equis dude.
In terms of anything mental characteristics, no, it's not human. So it is a mixture of ape and human characteristics. If
Fucking
you want to call
nerd.
that a missing link, that's
But
fine.
humans are apes.
Now, this is a cast of a jawbone.
That's the jawbone of
something that I
Robert
think is
Zadar.
actually the Sasquatch. This is a jaw that's anatomically in between human and ape. in
So
its
Andre the
teeth.
Giant then.
But it's much larger than any living ape, much larger than a gorilla, for instance. These are known from fossils about 1 million years old in China, and it has been named Gigantopithecus. And it has approximately the
Approximation
characteristics
rules.
that our Sasquatch has. So I'm inclined to think that this species just simply is continuing today.
Wait,
The
it has
most
approximately the
convincing visual
characteristics
evidence
of our
Bigfoot
hypothetical
is a film
creature?
taken by Roger Patterson in Northern California. Dr. Krantz believes it to be authentic.
I've examined the film many times, watching it.
Why is he doing the walk like an
backwards,
Egyptian
and
dance?
measure and all of the anatomy.
It's
of the
kind of like,
creature
you know,
is
when your dog's
consistent.
taking a poop and you bang on the
It just
window and they
simply
look
does
back
not
at
fit
you.
with a man wearing a suit. In fact, a suit of that size, we can establish exactly how big it is. There's no way a man could fit into it. The shoulders and chest are simply too wide.
Maybe they went to Emerson's
The
Big and
feet
Tall.
Nah, he went to
are,
Brooks
properly
Brothers.
designed for carrying that kind of body weight.
Did you say
That
body?
doesn't make any sense unless you've got a body of that size.
Thanks, Jeffrey
And
Dahmer's
Patterson,
brother.
Could not have faked any of this stuff. I talked to him about some of the things I saw, and he didn't even understand what I was talking about.
Reports of Bigfoot
Man, they are
sightings in
aping the
Northwest
shit
go all
out
the
of
way
this
back
stock
to
footage.
1811. There have been some in other parts of the United States, but most have come
Was
in the
Bud
area
legal
from
back then?
Northern
Those trees are
California to
giant.
British Columbia.
What is it?
In 1882, a British Columbia newspaper published the story of railroad workers who saw and captured a creature they called Jacko.
Michael Jackson?
No one seems to know what happened to that creature.
No one seems to know what happened to that creature. How the fuck do you misplace a Bigfoot?
Well, you know, things get complicated. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've misplaced a chupacabra.
The other half are very real, especially to those who live in this rugged country.
Rugged American man.
Seen something strange and sometimes frightening.
Speedy McSpeederson over here.
Driving Miss Bigfoot.
Cindy was with me, and we
Manos.
decided that
This is the more boring version of Bullet.
Yeah, it's Nerf dart.
Louis Galway and his daughter Cindy of Stevenson, Washington, returning home one
Just
night
another
from
day of
visiting his
pimping.
parents,
Was it Bob
came across
Ross? Maybe if we had a
something they'd
light
never
or
seen
something.
before.
Man, it was really dark in the 70s, huh?
10:30, 11
This is
o'clock
back in the dark
Cindy
times. There was only light outside.
sleeping on the
Oh man,
floor,
that's a dead
on the
kid.
seat. I come around the corner
Well, it's
there,
Macaulay Culkin, so that's
and,
fine.
Is this guy hiding a body?
No, he isn't.
it looked
Well, I was
like
dumping
he
this body out in the Pine Barrens, and that's when I saw Bigfoot. Wait, go
She
back?
got scared before it ran to brush, and at first I thought it was a bear, but when it took off across the road on its hind legs, I just couldn't believe it. Now, I hunt and I fish and I see a lot of game all the time.
I see a lot of games, too. I got a lot of games right next to me.
Tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago.
Wow, it's an
we
arcade
received
in
a
the
call
forest.
I am so lost.
late part of the fall. The people who own this cabin
You'd think a
back
person
here
who lived in Oregon for
said they'd
25
found
years would
tracks
know the
of what
woods,
they
but
thought was
here
a
I
large
am.
animal.
This is back before you had to have charisma
And,
to be on
we came out and
TV.
investigated that.
All you had to have was a bowl
Back
cut
here by
and a
the
good
tree,
mustache.
we found
So this is what Paul Simon did.
several tracks that were real large, way larger than a human.
Scomania
Sure wonder
2018,
about
bro!
Sheriff
Wow,
William
that's
Klausner,
not a
Skamania
flattering
County
little
in
logo there, is
Washington,
it?
has investigated tracks and talked with eyewitnesses. He's seen too much to be totally skeptical.
The most unique thing about what we've learned from this is that the people who have either written or called, who have experienced the same kind of thing or had seen tracks, mention of a strong sulfur smell, and that's real unusual.
As Sheriff Klausner says, the smell description is not unusual. James Strahan and Harold Teskey recently
family
saw
trickster.
something
Oh man, they pulled over the
outside
Griswolds.
I just made a
There was
gesture
a
joke.
big, huge object on the left of the
That guy's
road,
breaking
and
his
I
own
rolled
neck
the
to look in
window
that car.
down the car. And,
What, George Bush?
Looks like Randy Orton's
this thing
dad.
was probably
Look at the cord
3.5,
running over his
4
shoulder.
feet wide,
He's plugged in.
6, 7 foot tall. And the odor of this animal, after I rolled the window down, was so offensive that
Snowflake.
I couldn't remain there any longer.
Sir, I have to pull
And I'm
you over.
scared, too.
Your lights out
I've-
above your
I've
head.
been around,
Been around the
mountains,
mountain when
animals
he's
alive.
around.
And this thing truly
Oh,
scared me.
and suddenly the onboard camera attacked me.
So I got out of there and
Oh, shit! Ah! Goddamn! Ah! The branch hit me!
went on home, and the odor of that animal stayed in that car.
Yeah, I guess it
until the next
Febreze.
morning. It was still in there.
Is that Peter Boyle?
Yes.
1 mile outside the Dalles, Oregon, several members of the Bigfoot investigation
Is that
Project
the
and
rescue
Information
crew from
Center
Alive?
We
fly
should have
to an
taken an
observation
Uber.
point.
I hope they get government
They're
funding.
led by Peter Byrne, 50-year-old adventurer.
50-year-old
former big game
adventurer.
hunter
That's back
in
when you
Nepal.
can just like wander around the country doing dumb, aimless shit and just be like, I'm an adventurer. Say, no, you're a vagrant.
Hey, as long as you're white and rich, you can get away with that shit on a business card.
And stalk these north woods, checking out every story.
He
and every
is
set
the
of
most
tracks.
interesting man in the
His
world.
prey is elusive.
Because he doesn't exist.
We will talk to the person who
As
says
elusive
that
as
they've
Robert
seen one.
Denby.
We will talk to
Oh, is
their
this the
family,
video where the
perhaps
zombie
to their
jumps out and scares you?
employees. We'll talk to the local police to see if they know them, to find out if the person
Well,
is
speed up.
simply a joker, a hoax of some kind.
can
or
do
if
it.
they're,
There's no laws out here,
reputation
man.
and,
Now, these unpaved roads had default speed limits
and
of
then we'll go and see
10.
the person, we'll interview
Some
them,
adventurer
and
he
of course,
is.
We will try and get to the place of the actual sighting as quickly as possible.
One of the most credible sightings took place near Mount Hood, Oregon in 1974.
How close is that to Gravity Falls?
Jack Cochran and Furman Osborne were
Johnny
working in an
Cochran?
area of
It's a
fallen
Cochran and
timber.
Furman. Yo, does that mean OJ is Bigfoot?
Holy shit, you've cracked it.
Juice is loose.
If the shoe do not fit, the Bigfoot must have quit.
That's why he's running in that video.
Moving
He's
at
trying
the
to
edge
make
of the
that
timber.
plane from the Hertz
And
commercial.
then this thing walked.
Go, Bigfoot!
It walked with a glide, and then it reached an arm out and kind of touched a tree as it walked by. And I saw these wide shoulders, and then it just moved off down the hill.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
Oh, yeah.
Sudden chokers, and I came down the line and he didn't come back, so we decided.
What's that thing Mark doing to your shoulder there?
They say 30 minutes of walking is good for your heart health.
Be in the shade. And
Is this like the community theater version of the Village People?
This guy's like the fucking redneck Dr. Livingston. Dr. John Boy, I
I
presume.
want to get a closer look at him, and we.
Well, see, mister, this is in your seat. See, I've been sitting here a whole lot longer.
Within 50 feet of him.
Whatever Osborne chased through the woods left him far behind. Cochran, an amateur artist, tried to sketch what he saw.
Look at the ass on that.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yo, Bigfoot's got buns of steel.
And
What's the
hairy.
line between amateur artists and just
And
bad?
his head seemed to just spring up out of his shoulders, no neck. The arms were long and in proportion than a human.
There is persuasive evidence that men may be closing in on Bigfoot.
Yeah, how'd that
What
work
will the
out?
hunters do
Like
if
that
they
we're
find
closing
him?
in on ISIS?
It's like fucking Julia Childs.
Who wants to lick the
And
spoon?
that's really all there is to it.
Peter Byrne, professional Bigfoot investigator.
Before doing this, and now
Hundreds of unexplained footprints have been found in these woods. They receive close examination by the experts.
this is a plaster cast of an actual footprint here, and it's a 13.5-inch cast, and it has a number of peculiarities.
Oh, sweet, my gas pedal just showed up.
A normal bulge behind the big toe or the hallux, and then there's a second bulge. And this is peculiar to all of the footprints that we have seen.
That looks like a foot
nobody
if it
really
was
knows
drawn
what
by
causes
fucking
the
Seth
second bulge.
MacFarlane.
It's a foot drawn by a
Some
foot.
kind to support the enormous weight.
This is a cast of an individual that's very obviously crippled.
What is it got like
And,
wheelchair
I studied
tracks
this,
next to it?
and found these two bulges on the outside of the foot. Anatomically, they have to correspond to a couple of gaps in the bones on the foot themselves. And the bulges in a normal human foot expanded to this size would have been here, but they're shifted forward. Well, anatomically, this means that the ankle weight is shifted somewhat forward. It's not just a gigantic human foot.
Science.
It's, the leverage has been
Hey, this
redesigned.
guy's a
And this happens to be
doctor?
You should
redesigned
know
just
that.
exactly
I said I
the
was
way
a
it would have to
doctor.
be for a,
Are you
800-pound
really a
animal.
doctor? Well, now that you ask, my
The
answer is
idea
different.
If this was faked by somebody isn't quite so simple. If it was faked, it was done by a human anatomist who was a real genius, and he had to have laid out thousands of these fakes all over the place, and that just simply becomes impossible.
Among the fakery that we have seen is a piece of film. made in
Fakery,
1970
not
by a man
quite as
in
strong as
Washington.
flimflammery.
At first, it looked very good.
That's an
It was,
Ewok.
Taking a
man in
shit.
fursuit,
I was just about to say
and a
that.
particular man tried to sell it to us for $25,000.
That shit, I paid $25,000 for a Bigfoot shit pic.
In this movie was 8 foot 6 inches in height.
Is he
But when we found the
nay-nay?
area,
He's
we went
crip
to our
walking.
own
He
measurements,
could be doing a
and, we
Dougie.
saw that the
Or
creature in
possibly
fursuit was a
dabbing.
man in
Could be. It
fursuit,
might be
and that
mid-dab.
around 6 feet in height. This is, I think, is a good example of the kind of fakery that we have encountered through the years.
Throughout the Northwest, there are hundreds of men hunting for Bigfoot.
Flowers are in bloom.
Don Peterson, Jack Sullivan, and James Huskin have searched
I'm
for several
James
years.
Houston.
These
They
three
believe the hunt
sun-bleached
will
white
end with a
men.
bullet.
These look like every guy that came over to my grandfather's house for fly tying lessons in the 90s.
To be fair, it does kind of also look like us.
Pictures aren't going
Minus
to be
Mike.
enough.
Why do you look so embarrassed? Oh wait, never mind.
They do look embarrassed.
Well, I'm going on TV to admit I believe in Bigfoot. It's all over now.
If we take a bunch of pictures, they're going to be under dispute.
These are
And if you
gentle
can shoot one
dumbasses.
animal, you might be able to save the rest of
A
them.
Barney
Everybody else
Rubble
from
looking
shooting, too.
motherfucker.
And that sets up a conflict among
Yo, this
Bigfoot
cameraman
hunters.
is walking quicker than
Does
that
it
truck
have to
was
be
going.
killed to
He's
prove
lost.
it exists? Through the centuries, the mighty Columbia River separating Washington and Oregon has cut a deep gorge on its way to the Pacific Ocean. It is a big, rugged, beautiful...
You already said rugged already.
...where man holds a deep respect
It's
for
very
nature.
rugged there.
I mean, there's not really a lot of other adjectives you can use other than dirty.
$10,000 fine or 5 years in jail for
I'm sorry, there's a fine for killing Bigfoot? Maybe big government isn't the problem.
Oh, I've seen Final Destination.
It's log, it's log.
See, this is all the shit that made Kurt Cobain form Nirvana.
And they don't want it killed. At least not in their
Ah, the distinctive architecture of the Pacific Northwest.
Robert Link, Bigfoot lawyer.
Such an animal, that the animal had ever harmed anybody, or that it had done anything to deserve to be shot or captured.
We need a piece of the body.
Is that a Juggalo mask behind him?
I think that there are many other ways.
When
of
you're so
proving the
white, you
existence
cast a
of something
glare.
other than killing that particular thing that you're trying to prove exists.
My preference would be to locate a hunter who has shot and killed one, and perhaps because he thought he killed a
Look at you with your hand on your hip, you sassy bitch.
He might not have said anything about it. But if he would come forward, perhaps we could examine the place where he killed it, and we might find a few bones, and then the whole thing is settled right there.
That is a very specific preference.
If we don't find such an old kill, then the only alternative remaining is to kill one now.
This man's bloodlust
And,
cannot be
grisly as that
satisfied.
sounds, I think that
I
is
gotta say,
probably
we
what
killed a
we'll
lot
have
of supposed witches, and it never really went a long way towards proving they existed.
I don't know. Have you ever been to a hot
urge the
topic?
doctor to reconsider that, especially if he thinks he's going to do it in this county, because we would enforce the ordinance.
Dale Gribble, file footage.
Did anyone know how to fucking comb their hair back then? Jesus.
Specimen for scientific identification.
I think it would be morally wrong.
J. Peterman catalog.
In fact, I talked to a small boy.
John
a schoolboy
Connolly,
recently,
Bigfoot hunter.
And he said some people say shoot one to prove that they're there. And then he said, supposing the one they shoot is the last one.
Well, my answer to that is if they become extinct, so what? If they're not proven, it doesn't make any difference. We have a lot of animals that became extinct in the past.
This guy looks like Moral Oral all grown up.
This animal
It's
remains
Butters as an adult.
unaccepted. Who cares if it becomes extinct?
They're obviously rare. There are not very many of them. And as we see them, they could be a hominid form. It could be a man. To shoot one would be totally wrong. And we are totally opposed to this philosophy.
Damn liberals.
While men ponder the dilemma, to kill or not to kill, many Indians wonder why this preoccupation with proving Bigfoot exists.
We went to ask an Indian, but unfortunately we killed them all.
Many, like Mrs. Joe Washington, see the hunt for Bigfoot just another intrusion.
Hey, did you guys know that actually, like, things that were lower on totem poles were considered to be more respected than things that were higher on totem poles? That phrase is actually wrong.
Huh.
Did not know that.
Now you know.
There's that stock footage again. We paid $10,000 for a helicopter ride, and god damn it if we're not getting our money's worth.
And if someone did bring him down...
Sasquatch, helicopter rescue. Sounds like a fucking TBS Superstation show in the mid-90s.
He'd never adapt to your way or even mine, because his way of life is...
And then they found the money that D.B. Cooper left.
And then they filmed D.B. Cooper versus
mine
Bigfoot.
and yours. And I always felt so bad when I hear of Sasquatch hunters that say they're going to photograph this man, or most of them refer to him as an animal. And
Oh, a woman, wow.
and things that I
Whoa,
was taught
it's the
by
chick
my
from
people,
Poltergeist.
It knows what's
that
next.
he is not an
His house
animal.
is clean.
He's not a savage. He's a
She
gentle
looks like my
being
housekeeper.
that just goes about his own way, collecting his own food, clothing, and lives where he chooses.
Lady had the haircut of Hector Lavoe.
Someone's throwing a sick rager on that mountain.
What about Bigfoot on Bigfoot violence?
Mainstream media never talks about it. Where are the Bigfoot leaders?
Man, with his ingenuity and machinery, continues to stalk this creature. A creature described by the Indians as a gentle being, wanting to live in peace in his own habitat. A creature some scientists believe is a link to centuries long past.
The gorilla is mentioned in Greek mythology.
No, it isn't.
I heard this guy saying the same lecture at a bar once.
Century. And the subspecies, the mountain gorilla, was not identified until early 1900.
That turtleneck is freak.
And there are other examples. The fossil fish that was discovered in the Indian Ocean only a few years ago, believed to be extinct for 80 million years. This is the coelacanth.
Oh, we're sick of hearing about the damn coelacanth.
He's a survivor. He persisted.
Is that the case with Bigfoot? Is this creature really a relative of the Gigantopithecus?
Am I wearing pants?
Will my wife ever call me again?
Remember that time I photographed really large people with really big boobs?
There is food for it to survive.
Food like Doritos.
But it may have to die at the hands of man to prove to him that there is such a thing called Bigfoot. If we assume that Bigfoot is real,
God damn that
and
jacket.
that men are closing in on this seemingly gentle monster, then we must prepare for that first meeting. To have eluded us for so long, Bigfoot must understand men very well. The burden will be on us to understand him.
Leonard Nimoy, great American. I mean, come on. Like, there's no, we'll make fun of him here, but Jesus Christ. I mean, hats off. Rest in skeleton piece.
Produced by Larry Badger?
Up next, we're off in search
watching
of
the
real
skis.
Dracula, which will take us to the castle of Count Vlad in Romania.